I'm Patricia, 35, sitting in my Rolls Royce, the late afternoon sun glinted off its sleek surface. I stared at the house where I grew up. Once a magnificent Victorian mansion, it now looked like a tired old soul. The paint was peeling, the gutters were sagging, and the once immaculate lawn was overgrown and patchy. It was a stark symbol of my family's fall from grace. Just yesterday, my mother's desperate phone call had shattered 7 years of silence. Her sobs and pleas for help echoed in my mind. "Please, Patricia," she'd cried, "we're your parents. The house is in foreclosure. We need $400,000 and we have nowhere else to go." Taking a deep breath, I stepped out of the car. The click of my Louboutins against the cracked concrete walkway seemed to echo through the quiet neighborhood. Before I could reach the door, it flew open. "Patricia," my mother, Amelia, exclaimed. Her eyes widened in shock at my appearance. The daughter she'd last seen in jeans and a hoodie now stood before her in a tailored Chanel suit, wearing jewelry that cost more than their mortgage. "Hello, Mother," I said calmly. "May I come in?" She stepped aside, fluttering her hands nervously. Of course, of course. Your father, Henry, is in the living room. We weren't expecting you so early." As I followed her through the foyer, I noticed how the once elegant house had fallen into disrepair. The antique furniture was dusty, and the Persian rugs, once the pride of the family, had clearly seen better days. My father sat in his favorite leather armchair. He looked older and smaller than I remembered. His eyes narrowed as he took in my appearance. "You look expensive," he said, his tone a mix of confusion and suspicion. "Things have changed, Father," I replied, sitting down across from him. "But then, that's why I'm here, isn't it? Things have changed for you too." My mother perched on the edge of the sofa, wringing her hands. "Patricia, we're so grateful you came. We didn't know who else to turn to. The bank is foreclosing." "Yes, you mentioned that," I said, "along with the fact that you need $400,000 to save the house. What I'd like to know is how you got here." My father's face darkened. The business had some setbacks. The market changed, and the suppliers became unreliable. We had to take out loans to keep things afloat. I nodded slowly. "The import business I refused to take over. The one you said I was foolish to walk away from." "Patricia," my mother interrupted, clearly trying to prevent an argument. "Please, we know we hurt you. We said terrible things, but we're your parents and we need help." I studied them both. My proud father couldn't meet my eyes, and my mother was still trying to manage everyone's emotions. They looked tired and defeated. Part of me wanted to tell them everything right then about my success, my company, the fortune I'd built. But another part, the part that remembered years of criticism and control, wanted them to understand exactly what they'd thrown away. "Show me the paperwork," I said finally. "Everything, the loans, the business records. If I'm going to help, I need to know what I'm dealing with." My father started to protest, but my mother quickly gathered a stack of documents from a drawer. As I reviewed them, the full picture emerged. The business had been failing for years, long before they pressured me to take it over. They'd mortgaged the house multiple times, taken out high interest loans, and now everything was coming due. "You're not just in trouble with the house," I said, looking up from the papers. "The business is completely underwater. You need a lot more than $400,000 to fix this." "We just need to save the house," my mother said quickly. "We can figure the business out later." I set the papers down and leaned back, studying them. "Why did you really call me after 7 years of silence? Why now?" My father shifted uncomfortably. "We heard rumors about your company. Someone mentioned you were doing well in tech. We thought you might have enough money to bail us out. But you didn't bother to actually find out what I've been doing all these years, did you?" I asked. "We were angry," my mother admitted softly. "When you left, when you rejected everything we planned for you, it felt like betrayal. We were too proud to reach out and see what you'd made of yourself." I stood up and walked to the window. The garden where I'd spent countless hours as a child was overgrown. The roses my mother had once tenderly cared for were choked by weeds. "Do you know what neural dynamics is?" I asked, not turning around. Some sort of computer company? My father ventured. I couldn't help but laugh. Some sort of computer company. Yes, I suppose that's one way to put it. I turned to face them. Neural Dynamics is one of the fastest growing AI companies in the world. Our technology is revolutionizing everything from healthcare to climate science, and I founded it. The silence that followed was deafening. My parents stared at me, their expressions a mix of shock and disbelief. That's impossible, my father finally stammered. You never had that kind of business experience. I had something better. I cut in. I had vision. I saw where technology was going while you were clinging to an outdated business model. The daughter you dismissed as a disappointment built something worth billions. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. Billions. Yes, I said simply. Which is why your request for $400,000 is actually quite modest. The question is, what are you really asking for? Money or something else? They looked at each other, decades of shared history passing between them in a glance. My father's shoulders slumped, and for the first time in my life, I saw tears in his eyes. We were wrong, he said, his voice rough with emotion. About everything, the business, your choices. We were so convinced we knew what was best that we couldn't see what you were capable of. I felt my own eyes stinging, but I kept my voice steady. Now that you know I have money and I'm successful, is that why you want to reconnect? No, Patricia, my mother cried. The money, yes, we need help. But seeing you today, realizing what you've achieved, we're proud of you. We should have been proud of you all along. I sat back down, letting their words sink in. Pride after 7 years of silence, after dismissing everything I'd worked for. The irony wasn't lost on me. Here's what's going to happen, I said, my voice calm but firm. I'm going to help you, but not just with money. This is going to be about rebuilding everything, including our relationship, and it's going to happen on my terms. My father started to speak, but I held up my hand. Let me finish first. I'm going to have my team do a complete audit of your finances. No secrets, no hidden debts. I need to know exactly what we're dealing with. Your team? My mother asked softly. Yes, mother. I have a team of financial advisors who manage my assets. They'll handle this professionally and discreetly. I pulled out my phone and sent a quick text to Lisa, my chief financial advisor. Within moments, she replied, confirming she'd start the process immediately. Second, I continued, we're going to really talk about everything that happened, everything that was said. No more sweeping things under the rug or pretending the past didn't happen. My parents exchanged nervous glances. The family had never been good at emotional honesty. We were masters at avoiding difficult conversations, letting resentment build until it exploded. Third, I said, standing up, you're going to come see what I've built. Tomorrow, I'm taking you to Neural Dynamics. It's time you understood exactly what your daughter has achieved. The next morning, I picked them up in my Rolls Royce. My mother had made an effort to dress up, wearing one of her old designer suits that now hung loose on her frame. My father looked uncomfortable in a tie that had seen better days. As we drove through the city towards the gleaming towers of the tech district, my mother kept glancing at me. What is it? I finally asked. You seem so different, she said, confident in control. I smiled slightly. I always was, Mother. You just never saw it because it didn't fit your image of who I should be. We pulled into the private parking garage beneath the Neural Dynamics building. 40 stories of glass and steel that housed over 3,000 employees. As we stepped into the private elevator, my father's eyes widened at the fingerprint scanner. Security is tight, I explained. We develop proprietary technology here. What we're working on is worth billions. The elevator opened directly into my executive suite on the top floor. Floor 2 ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city, and multiple screens displayed real-time data from our global operations. This is impressive, my father said, turning slowly to take it all in. Lisa was waiting for us, tablet in hand. Miss Patricia, I have the preliminary audit results. I nodded. Thank you, Lisa. What's the damage? She glanced at my parents before continuing. Total outstanding debt is approximately $2.3 million, including the house mortgages, business loans, and various credit lines. Most of it is high, interest, and overdue. I heard my mother's sharp intake of breath. The number was clearly higher than they'd admitted even to themselves. Options? I asked. We can clear it all immediately if you want, Lisa replied, or set up a structured payment plan if you prefer to handle it that way. My father's face had gone pale. 2.3 million, he whispered. We had no idea it had gotten so bad. You didn't want to know, I corrected him. Just like you didn't want to know what I was doing with my life. It was easier to look away. I turned to Lisa. Set up a payment plan. I'll cover it all, but I want it structured properly, and I want the business officially closed. No more throwing good money after bad. After Lisa left, I led my parents into my private conference room. The walls were lined with awards and press coverage articles about neural dynamics innovations, my patents, and our company's impact on various industries. This is what you walked away from, my mother said, reading one of the headlines. When you refused to take over the family business. No, I corrected her. This is what I walked toward. You saw it as walking away because you couldn't imagine anything beyond what you had planned for me. I sat down at the conference table, gesturing for them to join me. Do you know why I succeeded? Because when you cut me off, when you took away everything I was supposed to depend on, you accidentally gave me the greatest gift of all, freedom. Freedom to fail, to try, to build something without the weight of your expectations. My father's hands trembled slightly as he clasped them on the table. We thought we were doing what was best for you, protecting you. The family business was supposed to be your security. But it was never what I wanted, I said softly. And you never asked. You just assumed your dreams should be my dreams. And look what your dreams built. My mother gestured at the room around us. While we were clinging to the past, you were creating the future. We spent the next few hours talking, really talking for the first time in years. They told me about their struggles as the business declined, their fear of losing everything, and their regret over pushing me away. I told them about the early days of neural dynamics, the risks I took, and the nights I worked until dawn believing in my vision. There's something else you should know, I said finally. I'm not just successful. I'm wealthy beyond anything you could imagine. The company is worth billions, yes, but my personal net worth is over $47 million. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. My father seemed to age 10 years in an instant. The full weight of their rejection finally hit him. All this time, he whispered, while we were drowning in debt, too proud to admit our mistakes, too proud to reach out to our daughter. Yes, I finished for him. But that's the past. What matters now is what we do going forward. I pulled out a folder and placed it on the table. This is my proposal. I'll clear all your debts through a structured payment plan. The house will be put in a trust. You can live there for the rest of your lives, but it will eventually become a foundation to help young entrepreneurs. The family business will be closed properly, with all employees receiving generous severance packages. They nodded, understanding that this wasn't up for discussion. But I continued. This isn't just about money. I want us to try being a real family, not the one you tried to force me to be part of, but something new, something honest. That means therapy, both individual and family sessions. It means regular dinners, real conversations, and genuine efforts to understand each other. You don't owe us any of this, my mother said quietly, after how we treated you. No, I don't, I agreed. But I'm not doing it out of obligation. I'm doing it because, despite everything, you're my parents, and maybe it's time we all learn how to be a family without expectations or conditions. My father reached across the table and took my hand. It was the first time he'd touched me in 7 years. Thank you, he said, his voice rough with emotion. Not for the money, but for giving us a chance to make things right. Over the next few months, we began the slow process of rebuilding the family. Therapy sessions were difficult. Years of resentment and misunderstanding didn't disappear overnight. But gradually, we started to understand each other better. My parents moved into their newly renovated house, now maintained by the trust I'd established. My mother started volunteering at a local youth center, mentoring young girls interested in technology. My father, free from the burden of the failing business, discovered a passion for teaching business classes at a community college. One evening, about 6 months after that first reunion, we sat in their garden. I'd had it restored to its former glory, and the roses my mother loved were blooming once again. "Do you remember," my mother said, sipping her tea, "how you used to sit out here with your laptop, working on what you called your projects? We thought you were just playing games, avoiding real work." I smiled. Those projects were the early versions of the AI algorithms that would eventually become Neural Dynamics' core technology. "We were so blind," my father added. "So caught up in our own vision of success that we couldn't see we were already successful, just in a way we didn't understand." "The past is the past," I said, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of pink and gold. "What matters is that we're here now, learning to see each other clearly." My phone buzzed with a message from my team about a new breakthrough in our latest project. Looking at the message and then at my parents, I felt a sense of completion. I had succeeded not just in business but in something far more challenging: forgiving, growing, and building a new kind of relationship with my family. "I have some exciting news," I said, putting my phone away. Neural Dynamics is launching a foundation to support young entrepreneurs from underprivileged backgrounds. We're calling it the Family Innovation Fund. My parents' eyes widened. "You're using our name?" my father asked. "Yes," I replied. "Because despite everything, you taught me something valuable: the importance of legacy, just not in the way you planned." My mother wiped away tears as my father squeezed her hand. We sat there in the garden, watching the day fade into night, three people who had lost their way finding a new path forward together. As I drove home that night, I thought about the long journey that had brought us here. From the daughter they rejected to the successful businesswoman who could save them, from a family broken by pride to one slowly healing through honesty and effort. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. "Thank you for not giving up on us. We love you." I smiled, thinking about how far we'd all come. Sometimes, the hardest part of success isn't achieving it. It's learning how to share it with the people who once doubted you could succeed at all.